When I find these types of comments, I like to point them out because it really shows the ignorance of this country in so many aspects. This guy has it completely and utterly wrong because of what's been instilled in his stupid head. I mean, he's a dumb person.
When all your scapegoats and your boogeymen are gone, who will you blame then when things continue to get worse?
The richest 1% of Americans now own 33% of the nation's total wealth, which is more wealth than the bottom 90% put together.
This is Byron Donalds here, and he's asked the question as well by Margaret Brennan. This is every time you see a Republican, watch.
Nearly all of Florida is below the 95% immunization rate for herd immunity for measles. So is your message to Florida parents, get your kids vaccinated against that one?
No, actually, my message to Floridians and quite frankly to Americans is the reason why we have seen a measles outbreak in certain parts of the country is because of rampant illegal immigration into the United States from the previous administration.
So the reason, ladies and gentlemen, that we have this problem with measles and the outbreak of measles and other critical illnesses and other failures of this administration, but namely that one, because that's the question at hand, is because of the previous administration. It's not because of what's going on right now. That's what ends up happening. Like there's no accountability about what's going on today, right now. It's not what Donald Trump and Kennedy and all these other MAGA dummies are doing with our country. It's the previous administration. And their opening of the borders, which there was no such thing as that either. I mean, you can't make up the stupidity of these people. It's unbelievable. But we were warned that all this was going to happen. We were warned by Kamala Harris. She told us all this was going to happen and pretty much in detail as to what was going to happen. I mean, it's amazing how smart she is and what she said and how it all is coming literally true.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that...
Relax, John Smith. I said that I was sorry about that. I didn't know that you were talking to the MAGA idiots. I already apologize. Rewind the tape. You can do it while it's still live on the air. Just rewind the tape and you'll see what I said, okay?
Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Now, isn't that amazing that she was so spot on when it comes to Donald Trump and predicting what was going to happen? Everybody said it when it came to his plan, that this was going to just completely and utterly destroy the deficit, then leading to our national debt growing. A lot of people don't know what the national deficit and the debt are. There's a difference between the two. The deficit is when we have not enough money to cover what we're supposed to pay for. That's a deficit. But when you grow that deficit and you expand that deficit, it means that you have less money to pay for what you have to pay for. And so more money needs to be taken and printed and borrowed in order to be able to cover it. And therefore, the debt goes up, which is what's happening again under Donald Trump and Republicans, like they always do. This is what they do. They're experts at this, bro. They're experts at this. Here goes a video that I found, a message to MAGA that's asking the question, what if you guys got what you wanted, right? Let's pretend that you guys, that everything happens exactly the way that you want, which is all the most nasty things that you can imagine happening to our country, which is what MAGA wants, right? That's why we're ending MAGA here on the channel. But what if they did? Check out this video. I thought was pretty good. Listen.
What happens if you win, MAGA? What happens if you get everything you think you want? If you lock up or drive out all the libs and the Democrats? If you stamp out all the commies, if you get rid of all the black and the brown people, if you get rid of all the LGBT people, if you get rid of all the woke, when all your scapegoats and your boogeymen are gone, who will you blame then when things continue to get worse? When your MAGA leaders have absolute control and your food and your gas and your housing costs continue to rise, who will you blame when your rural hospitals close?
Let me just get to this comment because this is Mitch, he says, the immigrants that don't vaccinate for measles are Russian and Ukrainian. It's becoming a problem in Washington state. Well, let me just tell you this. I don't know the accuracy of what you're saying here, Mitch, but here's what I do know. In this country, you do get vaccinated for that. I don't give a if you're Russian or Ukrainian. If you come to this country, then your ass is getting vaccinated, except now. And that's the reason why, Mitch. Not because they're coming here with measles from Ukraine and Russia or any other place on the planet. I don't care where the you're coming from. If you come here, then your ass is getting vaccinated, right? Because that's how we controlled it and got rid of it in this country. Now that that is gone, Mitch, that's the reason why there's a problem. Not because they're coming here with measles. It had nothing to do with that. There's a cure. There's a way to stop it. Okay? And that is now not happening in this country, and that's the reason why it's a problem. I hope that clears it up for you, brother. But let's continue, though.
Who gets the blame when more and more data centers get put up in your small towns, polluting your water and disturbing your peace with their persistent drones? Who gets the blame? Will you start to eat each other? When you've pushed out everybody else and America still isn't great, who then receives your hate? And when you finally realize that the people that you idolize and the people you lionize, the people you have sworn absolute allegiance to, are the ones that have been holding you down the whole time, that the man you thought was your protector, your fearless leader, well, he's going to escape to safer places while he leaves you on the plane to get blown out of the sky. When you realize this, it will be too late, because you attacked and abused and threw out the people who would actually fight for you. There's still time to wake up. There's still time to stop punching down. There's still time to save yourselves and look up. But the clock is running out.
And so, stop punching down is one of the things that he said there, which I want to talk about a little bit here. Punching down means that all these people at the top, and thank you, Edward Thornton, for trying to address the problem with Edgar, who is probably disagreeing with what it is that I'm saying, which is moments ago when I spoke about how there's not one thing that you can point to, and there is not. And that's why Edward, when you ask Edgar for an example, he will not be able to give you an example. And when I say n, I really mean one. There's none that you can point to that has been Democrats that have done this to this country. We are in the mess that we are in because of Republicans and Republican policies. The national debt is literally because they cut taxes to the richest people on the planet, who then collected all of the money, and now they're paying back all of that money that they keep on borrowing from the richest people that they gave all the taxes to. If you don't believe me, this is Robert Reich. Let me get to that video because it was a little bit further down the line. This is Robert Reich explaining what is going on in this country. Listen.
Untold story about how we pay for government involves a big switcheroo by America's wealthy. Decades ago, wealthy Americans financed the federal government by paying taxes. Their tax rate was far higher than what it is today. Now, wealthy Americans finance the federal government by lending it money and collecting interest payments on those loans, profiting when the rest of us pay them back. As the debt continues to grow, interest payments are becoming huge. Taxpayers are now paying more in interest on the federal debt than we spend on the military or on Medicaid. Interest on the debt is expected to grow past $1 trillion next year and could climb to nearly $2 trillion by the 2030s.
So let me just address a comment that just came in, because this is the type of people that we're dealing with in this country. And this is why when I find these types of comments, I like to point them out, because it really shows the ignorance of this country in so many aspects. This guy has it completely and utterly wrong because of what's been instilled in his stupid head. I mean, he's a dumb person. Let's just call it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. He says how much money has been stolen sending out of the country. Well, the number one way that we've been sending money out of this country is by taking care of Israel, right? And Israel they have free healthcare for all their citizens. We don't have that. But mentally, you're probably totally fine with that, right? Because that's a Republican thing. You guys love giving money to all these countries that we don't have anything to do with, right? You guys love starting all of these wars in the Middle East that you didn't mention here, that we end up spending hundreds and trillions, not forget about billions, it's hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars that you didn't mention here, but that's done by Republicans. And I know you're trying to be critical here because you want to try to make it look like it's a both sides thing, or maybe it might even be more Democrats, except you won't be able to do that because you won't be able to point to or mention and give me any example whatsoever, period, of any Democrat that's ever been in office that's a president that took us to war in recent times. You're not going to be able to do it. But every time that we're in war, who gets us there? Republicans. Where is it usually? In the Middle East. And how much money do we spend there? Trillions, not billions, not hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars. But you don't talk about that here, do you? And then you say how much money is wasted on programs through USAID. You mean the money that we all get and that we all get to save because we have all of this food being bought up for other humanitarian aid that we give to other countries, and now our farmers don't have that money coming in, and all those communities where the farms are, they are losing all of that income as well. All of the farmers that are losing the income now have to charge higher prices because they don't have enough money coming in from what used to be USAID and the hundreds of billions of dollars, and now we have to pay more for the tomato now because they can't keep up with anything because all that money is gone. Are you talking about that? Is that what you're talking about? And the jobs that it creates, the humanitarian lives that it saves, you're talking about that, and you say that I'm the one who lacks critical thinking at the end. You're a dumb motherfucker. That's what you are. You need to start practicing more critical thinking. Okay? Please. I mean, these people, I swear to God, they make it so easy, though. They really do. They make it as easy as you can possibly imagine. Do you know... do you know Israel's tax rate? It reflects what the U.S. was in 1980. Jeez, bro. Like, that'd be nice if we had that. But it's also a comment well made, Mitch, because what it is the taxes back in the day, it covered everything. We didn't have this problem prior to 1980. But because of Republicans and 1980 and forward, starting with Ronald Reagan all the way up until now, we've just been losing nothing but revenue. And then while that's happened, all of our prices for every single thing has gone up. And that is because of Republicans. That's who's doing it. There's nobody else doing it, okay? Let's continue, though, with the video that I was of Robert Reich talking about how this is all happening and how it has happened. And notice that it's all the richest people on the planet now getting not just tax breaks, but also getting money on top of it paid back to them by the richest, by the government. So they're winning in every way possible. And we're just getting worse and worse in this country. Listen.
Follow the money. Who's receiving these interest payments? Mostly Americans, not foreigners. And most of these Americans are wealthy. Investors who park their savings in treasury bonds held by mutual funds, hedge funds, pension funds, banks, insurance companies, personal trusts, and estates. The richest 1% of Americans now own 33% of the nation's total wealth, which is more wealth than the bottom 90% put together, which means a big chunk of the growing interest payments American taxpayers make on the federal debt is going to rich Americans. Now keep following the money. One of the biggest reasons the federal debt has exploded is that tax cuts, starting with the Bush administration in 2001 and extending through Trump's 2018 tax cut, have reduced government revenues by $10 trillion. The extension of the Trump Republican tax cut will cause the debt to explode even further. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office predicts the new and extended cuts in Trump's big, beautiful bill would add at least $3.3 trillion of additional debt over the next decade. Keep following the money. Most of the benefits from those tax cuts are going to the wealthy. A whopping 72% will go to the richest fifth of Americans, 22% to the top 1%. So, you see the big switcheroo? The rich used to pay higher taxes to the government. Now, the government pays the rich interest on a swelling debt caused largely by lower taxes on the rich, which means a growing portion of everybody else's taxes are now paying the rich interest on those loans instead of paying for government services everybody needs. That's wrong. America's wealthy have never been wealthier. They should pay their fair share of taxes. The big switcheroo should be reversed.